Okay, guys, I'm answering a user submitted question. I got emailed these. So one of them, there's a bunch of them, and I'll probably do one just like quickly answering a lot of these. But this one is zero range versus zero angle. What is best from sea level to high elevation? All right, zero angle. So zero range. So this is kind of in the last year or two gotten big, and we'll discuss whether that's legitimate or not. But the idea here is like zero range is I have a target at 100 yards and I shoot until my rounds are centered over my aim point, the bullseye, and I set in my app that I'm zeroed at 100 yards, right? So I'm zeroed at a fixed distance. Um, the idea with zero angle, let's see if we can simplify this because the people talking about it really complicate it and you kind of lose, you don't really get the sense of what the idea of it is. So the idea is if I shoot a group and I say I'm zero, the center of that group, the mean point of impact, is not directly over the point of aim. And by directly, I mean directly, like to within 0.000000000 inch, right? There's some offset in elevation and windage. And so the idea here is if you don't input that offset, that your zero angle, the angle of the scope to the gun and the gun to the ground and all of this, it's not correct. With the implication that your data is off as you go down range, and that's potentially why you're missing targets, right? But if you take it at face value and you listen to it, you get the idea that, oh my God, I should be using zero angle, and this is why I may be missing animals or missing targets. So let's just go through this and see if that's true, right? So first, zero range is a person simply shooting at 100 yards until they're centered over the aim point, okay? Zero angle is I shoot a group, it's zeroed, but then I measure each bullet hole from center, input it in the app or use their little photo thing for it. And then it gives me a better true zero. Okay. On the zero angle, the scopes either adjust in for the most part in quarter minute clicks. So for simplicity, a quarter inch per click at 100 yards. It's not true. It's quarter MOA or should be, or 10th mil per click, which is 0.36 inches at 100 yards. So a whopping 0.11 inch, 10th inch difference between the two. With either one of those, if I shoot a high shot group, so 10 shots plus 10, 15, 20 shots, and the center of that group is a quarter MOA high or low or left or right, you can see that and you would adjust that out, right? You don't go like, oh, well, it's close enough. No, I mean, if you can adjust something out, adjust it out as far as on the scope, right? Okay, so even with a 10th mil, if I'm a 10th a quarter inch high at 100 yards, well, if I come down a 10th mil, I'm going to be 0.11 inches low, but it's closer than if I was a quarter MOA high. So where you get functionally with this is any error less than a quarter MOA or quarter inch, high, low, left or right, at 100, you can't adjust it out. It doesn't matter what you do. You can't adjust that out. And that's where they come in with zero angle and be like, yeah, but if you use zero angle, you can account for that. Okay. So anything more than about a quarter inch at 100, we would adjust out. Any quarter inch or more, we would adjust out. We'd see it and we could click that out. Anything less causes an error. So let's see how big that error is. Okay, so I'm using the Hornady 4DOF app. I'm using the exact same gun at standard sea level. So sea level, standard atmospheric conditions, 0 foot altitude, 59 degrees, 50% humidity, 2992 pressure, no wind speed. And at 800 yards, okay, for both. And I'm using a 103 grain ELDX 6mm bullet at 3110. So this is one of my guns. Okay, so for zero range, so point of aim, point of impact, 100 yards, standard zeroing, It tells me I need 4.92 mils. So that would be 4.9. That's what an app would actually say. You can't adjust the 0.02 mils. So 4.9. If I use zero angle, it tells me 4.8, which is 4.9. That's how you'd have to adjust it. So I'm 0.07 mils off between the two, which is a quarter inch at 100 yards off. The error doesn't grow as the range increases. Okay, so, but both of these in an app, the only thing you could adjust is 4.9 mils. Both of them have the same output. You can't, something inside of a single click, you can't adjust that. So if you can't adjust it, how do you even know it's a real? Like, we'll ignore the fact of somebody trying to see a single tenth of a mil, and this isn't a tenth of a mil, less than a tenth of a mil elevation change in broken terrain in a range they've never shot or any other version of that. You actually can't adjust it out, so it doesn't matter. So let's change it to 1200 because somebody will bring up long range. Now, we're talking about hunting here. If you're going to talk about shooting 3,000 yards or whatever, that's fine. But so zero range, so normal zero, 10.46 mils. 10.46. Zero angle, 10.39. 10.4. Right? So we have the same error, 10.4. The same call at 1,200 yards. The same data. Like, potentially the app would say one is 10.4 and one is 10.5. Sweet. I've got an error that's less than the thickness of my crosshairs at 1,200 yards where a tenth of a mile an hour wind difference is causing that shift. So basically the base idea is this, is any error that would cause a large enough error that the difference between zero angle and zero range matters is large enough that any shooter that could notice that and know how to use zero angle would just adjust it out at 100 yards. If a shooter that understands how to use all of this and does use it, any error that he wouldn't adjust out is so small you can't shoot it. And when I say you can't, I mean no one can. Nobody can shoot the difference of 0.02 mils. It's not a thing. In MOA, nobody can shoot the difference of 0.001 MOA. So the whole idea that you're going to have misses because of this it's a fallacy. It's not real using an app that they built. And I don't mean that zero angle isn't real. It's that the error is not something that causes a problem in functional use. So we have the same data at 800, the same data at 1,200 with the maximum error that you would see or that would be even remotely possible for anybody paying attention to not adjust out. And yeah, and where it would come in is for people, you shoot a 3-shot group or maybe a 5-shot group and you're slightly to the right and slightly low on the target and you go, oh, that's good enough. And then I guess the idea is you measure each bullet hole from center, you input that into the app, and then it goes, hey, you're 0.32 inches low at 101 yards and you're 0.42 inches to the right at 101 yards. And it fixes your zero angle. Okay. Anyone that's going to go through that would just simply dial up a 1/10 mil and left a 1/10 mil, or up a quarter MOA and left half MOA, and they're done. So we have this one that is like math dorking it out and pole vaulting over mouse turds, or we have the simple solution of just shoot until your bullets are centered over the target and then slip your turrets. Zero the gun correctly with high round count shot groups, so 10 plus rounds, make sure it's zeroed, slip the turrets, have a gun that holds zero, go and true the gun correctly, and you're not missing because of the difference between zero angle and zero range. It really is something that you're just getting lost in the minutia it's just ballistic masturbation. When it comes down to it, there's no part of it that is really functionally usable in a hunting aspect, even at extremely long ranges. Okay. I don't think there should be any more questions about that, but if there is, I guess send them.